Ladies and gentlemen, Remembering Charlie with Jack Posobiec.
Charles James Kirk. Charles James Kirk. So it's been 6 months since we lost Charlie. And I'll just speak from the heart. I don't have a teleprompter here today. I don't have a written out speech or remarks or anything, because I don't need them when it comes to talking about my friend Charlie. And I'll tell you that what they say is true, is that it never leaves your thoughts. It never leaves your thoughts for a second when someone is ripped from you like that. When someone who is such a great leader in our movement, someone who is such a great leader of our shows and podcasts and our day-to-day work, and such a great leader of his family too, of Erica, the children. And when I think about what was taken from all of us, what was taken from our country, the future of Charlie, we all knew the future that he was destined for. I think that pales in comparison to what was stolen from his family. Every single moment of every single day that was stolen from them. Being able to walk with Erica side by side, hand in hand, walking down a beach in the summertime. Teaching his son to be able to throw a 50-yard long bomb like we all know Charlie could do. Teaching him to play basketball, teaching their daughter to play basketball. And maybe one day, definitely one day, walking his daughter down the aisle at her wedding. Every single moment of every single day of their lives was stolen from them. And I know that here at CPAC, I know that here at Texas, you'll certainly agree with me when I say that justice must be done for the family of Charlie Kirk. And I fervently pray, and I fervently am working and fervently stand tall that justice will be done in that Utah courtroom in just a couple of months, when the evidence will be clear. And I hope that the jury's verdict is also clear. But, you know, there's this narrative that's been going on in the media, and I see it online, and I spend way too much time online, as I'm sure many of us can attest, about division and discord and friction in the MAGA movement and friction online and friction among Trump supporters and all of this. And this happened before Charlie's murder. But now I see people trying to invoke Charlie's legacy to push their own agendas. And I got to tell you, folks, I'm sick of it, I'm frustrated by it, and it needs to stop. Stop using Charlie Kirk's legacy to push your own agenda. But I will tell you one thing that gives me hope is coming here at CPAC and coming here and standing with all of you good people, with all of you great Americans. I don't see that division. I see unity. I see unity of purpose. I see unity of a coalition. I see unity of Americans, and even unity of people from all around the country that are joining, or all around the world that are joining us here today. Because they fight for the same things that Charlie Kirk stood for. Charlie Kirk's legacy, faith, family, freedom. That was the Charlie Kirk agenda, and that is what Charlie Kirk's legacy ought to be. Charlie Kirk stood for freedom of speech. And indeed, Charlie Kirk died for that ideal of freedom of speech in the public square. What place could be more than the public square of the modern time than a university campus. And when Charlie would go out there, he didn't go out in violence. He never raised a hand in anger. He raised a microphone to himself, and he offered anyone who disagreed a chance to speak as well. He said, "Come, let's debate." And Charlie had the perfect phrase: "When the talking stops, the violence starts." When the talking stops, the violence starts. And that's exactly what happened. Because it begins with cancel culture. It begins with this idea that you have the right to decide who's allowed to speak, that you have the right to decide who should be not allowed to speak. And then suddenly, if you don't get your way by agitating like one of these woke-eratis, then you go and you say, we're going to shut him down on social media. And then you might try lawfare. And then you might try shutting him down another way. And what does it end with? It ends with them trying to silence Charlie Kirk with a bullet. That is where the wages of censorship and canceling go. That is where that comes from. And Charlie Kirk didn't stand for that, and I will certainly not stand for that. And God bless CPAC, and God bless all of you for not standing for that either. We stand for freedom. And I'm not going to tell you that I speak for Charlie just as someone who knew him, but I know what Charlie said. I know what he said. Charlie said it's about unity. It's about the coalition staying together. The 2024 coalition, the generational coalition that Donald J. Trump, the greatest political strategist that this country has ever seen put together, with the help of people like Charlie, with Turning Point, with CPAC, everyone working together to that one common purpose. Prosperity for America, peace for America, and yes, indeed, greatness for the United States of America, and putting the American people first. And when I see people invoking Charlie's name to try to push their agenda items, whatever it may be, I say that's not what Charlie was about. And, you know, they told me, they said, why don't you tell a story about what it was like knowing Charlie? And I never really know what to say about that. You know, he was exactly the same in private as he is in public. He was always on the go. He was always on the move. He was always working. And I will say this, though, that almost every morning, if you were someone who knew Charlie, if you had your phone number, and Charlie was always texting and sharing messages with people and constantly communicating. But Charlie was always a deep student of the Holy Bible. Every single day of his life, he started with the Bible. Before he went out on stage, he started with the Bible. Before he went to a debate, he went to the Bible. And Charlie would always send people whatever Bible verse he was reading that day, and you knew he was reading it. He would send you a text message with that quotation from Scripture. And so when we think about Charlie's legacy, I would encourage everyone to maintain that interest in staying united, keeping the coalition together. But if you want to do something in your daily lives, something that Charlie always did, pick up the Bible every single day and find a piece of Scripture, find a quote, find a line, one that speaks to you, and share it with your friends. Share it in your group chat, share it in your family, share it in your work chat. Just put it out there, because Charlie Kirk lived every day on this earth for Jesus Christ. And Charlie Kirk understood that Christ is King, and he lived and served and died as a witness to the Christian faith and to the living God. That is what he stood for. That is what we should all stand for. And if we remember that God comes first in our lives, then we will remember that very simple hierarchy of things: God, family, country, in that order. God bless to all of you. God bless to CPAC. God bless the United States of America. Thank you.